The Thompson family reunion happened every summer. 60 people crammed into my parents' backyard. I stood near the drinks table watching my mother hold court under the pavilion. Daniel just made partner at Morrison & Hayes, she announced. Youngest partner in the firm's history. Corporate law. 6 figures. Corner office. My brother Daniel accepted congratulations with practiced humility. He was 29, sharp in his tailored suit, every inch the successful attorney. And what about Morgan? Aunt Carol asked, glancing my way. Mom's smile flickered. Morgan's, exploring entrepreneurship. Still figuring out her path. I was 32. I'd founded Vertex Capital Partners 7 years ago, a private equity firm specializing in strategic acquisitions. Last year's portfolio value, $890 million. We'd completed 14 acquisitions in 18 months. But to my family, I was still figuring it out. Entrepreneurship is risky, Uncle Robert said. Nothing beats stability. Look at your father, 35 years at Anderson Manufacturing. That's real security. Dad nodded from his lawn chair. These startup things sound exciting but 90% fail. Eventually Morgan will need something solid. Something solid. My firm had $340 million in liquid assets and 43 employees. But sure. Daniel drifted over. Hey Morgan. How's the business thing going? Still doing that investment consulting? Private equity. We acquire companies and restructure them. Right. His eyes glazed over. Glad you found something you enjoy. Even if it's not a traditional career. Cousin Jennifer bounced over with her baby. Morgan, Mom said you work from home? That must be nice. So flexible. I split time between home and our Chicago and New York offices. Multiple offices for your little business. She laughed. That's adorable. Little business. We employed 43 people averaging $180,000 in salary. My phone vibrated. A text from my CFO. Board approved the Anderson deal. Announcement goes live at 6 p.m. Ready? I checked the time. 5:47 p.m. 13 minutes. The company we just acquired, the deal that took 6 months of negotiations, was Anderson Manufacturing. My father's company, where he'd worked 35 years. The company my family held up as the pinnacle of stable employment. Now wholly owned by Vertex Capital Partners. By me. And in 13 minutes, every major business outlet would announce it simultaneously. I typed back, ready. Coordinate with Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg for simultaneous release. Already handled. This is going to make waves. Morgan, phone away at dinner. Mom called. This is family time. Sorry. See, that's the problem with startups, Uncle Robert said. No boundaries. In a real job you clock out and you're done. I smiled and pocketed my phone. The reunion continued. Cousins compared jobs. Aunts discussed grandchildren. Daniel explained his latest case using terms like fiduciary duty to establish expertise. Nobody asked about my work beyond dismissive acknowledgments. I'd stopped trying to explain 2 years ago, after Thanksgiving when I'd mentioned acquiring an Ohio manufacturing company. That sounds risky, Dad had said. What if it fails? These ventures aren't like real jobs with safety nets. Now I owned his company. I excused myself to the kitchen, watching through the window as the reunion continued. My phone buzzed. 5:58 p.m. My general counsel. All legal docs filed. SEC notifications complete. PR team standing by. 2 minutes. 6 p.m. My phone exploded. Wall Street Journal. Vertex Capital Partners acquires Anderson Manufacturing in $385 million deal. Bloomberg. Private equity firm led by Morgan Thompson expands portfolio with strategic Anderson acquisition. Reuters, Forbes, Business Insider. All within seconds exactly as coordinated. Uncle Robert's voice rose from the backyard. What the hell? Did everyone see this? One by one, every adult stared at their phones in shock. Anderson Manufacturing was sold? Dad's voice carried across the lawn. To a private equity firm? Mom scrolled frantically. Vertex Capital Partners. Who is that? Daniel's face went pale. It says. The acquisition was led by Morgan Thompson. He looked up at me through the window. The backyard went silent. 60 people turned to stare as I walked outside. Morgan. Dad stood, his voice shaking. Is this real? Yes. You bought Anderson Manufacturing? My company. Vertex Capital acquired it. The deal closed at 3 p.m. Announcement was scheduled for 6. Mom's hands trembled. $385 million? $385 million purchase price, plus $40 million in assumed debt. Total transaction value of $425 million. Uncle Robert read aloud. Vertex Capital Partners, founded by Morgan Thompson, specializes in strategic acquisitions of mid-market manufacturing companies. With a portfolio valued at over $890 million across 14 companies, Vertex has emerged as a major player in industrial consolidation. $890 million? Aunt Carol whispered. That's our total portfolio value. Anderson is acquisition 15. Daniel scrolled through articles. These are all real. Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, Forbes. You're quoted in every one. My PR team coordinated the announcements. You have a PR team? And legal counsel, analysts, operations specialists. 43 employees across Chicago and New York. But you work from home, Mom said weakly. In sweatpants. I work from my home office when not traveling. Comfort doesn't diminish competence. Uncle Robert found more articles. You started this at 25? Yes. After my Columbia MBA. You have an MBA from Columbia? Aunt Carol looked stunned. I tried to tell you 3 years ago. You said business school was a waste and asked if I'd thought about dental hygiene school. Dad's face went gray. What happens to my job? Nothing. Anderson's workforce is its primary asset. The company's struggling because of outdated equipment and poor management, not the employees. I pulled out my tablet. We're investing $25 million in new machinery and IT infrastructure. We project 15% productivity gains without reducing headcount. $25 million? Dad's voice cracked. Into Anderson? Into Vertex's company now. Anderson has strong fundamentals. Skilled employees, good customers, strategic location. It needs capital investment and professional management. Daniel read from his phone. Morgan Thompson identified Anderson as an undervalued asset with significant growth potential. Under Vertex ownership, Anderson will benefit from operational improvements and technology upgrades. From our press release, I confirmed. Mom found her voice. Morgan, why didn't you tell us? I did. Multiple times. Kept my tone level. 4 years ago I mentioned raising our second fund. Dad said it sounded like monopoly money. 3 years ago I explained our strategy. You said I should get a real job with benefits. Last Christmas I discussed our Ohio acquisition. Daniel called it a pyramid scheme. Daniel's face went red. I didn't mean. You did. You all did. I looked around. You decided I was unsuccessful because my path didn't look like yours. Daniel has a corner office, so he's successful. I work from home, so I'm figuring it out. We didn't know you were actually successful, Mom said weakly. Biz, you never asked. You assumed. 7 years of frustration surfaced. Every holiday you discussed Daniel's cases for hours. But when I tried to talk about Vertex, about our acquisitions, your eyes glazed over and you changed the subject. Dad sank into his chair. I've been telling everyone at work my daughter's struggling. Now you're my boss. Not directly. We'll appoint a professional CO, Patricia Chen from Henderson Industrial. She has 20 years of experience and a Wharton MBA. I focus on strategy and portfolio management. Henderson Industrial is our biggest competitor, Uncle Robert noted. Exactly. Patricia's insights will be valuable and we weaken the competition. Jennifer was scrolling. There's a Forbes profile from last year. The Quiet Disruptor. How Morgan Thompson is reshaping American manufacturing. Why didn't you show us? I tried at Thanksgiving. You said you didn't have time to read business stuff and asked if I'd met any nice men lately. My phone rang. My CFO. Excuse me. I stepped away answering. Hey Stephen. Morgan, Wall Street Journal wants an exclusive interview. Bloomberg wants you live tomorrow at 9 a.m. And 3 other manufacturing companies are calling about potential acquisitions. Tell Wall Street Journal yes, schedule Bloomberg for 9 a.m. Have analysts run preliminary valuations by Monday? How's the family? Shocked. As expected. When I returned, Daniel intercepted me. Morgan, I need to apologize. I was condescending. I work with PE firms every day. If I'd paid attention, I would have recognized what you built. You assumed I was failing because my success didn't look like yours. I know. And I'm sorry. Mom and Dad approached together. Morgan, Dad started, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Yes, I do. I spent 35 years at Anderson thinking I was building something stable. And my daughter, who I thought was floundering, owns the whole company. You were a good employee. The company's problems aren't because of people like you. Mom's eyes filled with tears. We're so proud of you. Are you? Or are you just saying that because the Wall Street Journal told you to be proud? The words came out sharp but true. Mom flinched. That's not fair. Isn't it? For 7 years, you've treated my career like a hobby. Now because media outlets validated it, suddenly you're proud. I took a breath. I sent you fund prospectuses, portfolio updates, press coverage. You never read any of it. You assumed I was failing because I didn't have business cards. The reunion fell silent, 60 people listening. I understand private equity isn't common, I continued. But after years of me explaining, someone should have taken me seriously. Aunt Carol spoke quietly. What can we do now? I don't know. Right now, I have a company to integrate and media to manage. I grabbed my purse. Dad, you'll hear from our HR Monday. Nothing about your position is changing. You're valued. Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank the analysis that identified experienced managers as retention priorities. I softened slightly. But I'm glad you're staying. You're good at what you do. Daniel caught me at my car. When will we see you? I don't know. I'll be traveling. 3 more acquisitions plus integrating Anderson. Can I call you? Maybe. When I'm ready. I drove away, my phone ringing continuously with colleagues, investors, journalists. But I answered Patricia Chin, the incoming CEO. Morgan. Congratulations on closing the deal. Thanks. Ready to start in 30 days. Absolutely. I've been reviewing the data. There's incredible potential. We discussed integration strategy and timeline. This was the work I loved. Identifying potential, building strategy, creating value. 3 months later, Anderson posted its first profitable quarter in 2 years. 6 months after that, productivity was up 18% and they'd landed 2 major contracts. My father called. Morgan, thank you. What you've done for Anderson is remarkable. New equipment, better systems. For the first time in years, we're not worried about layoffs. That's good to hear. And I wanted to apologize. Properly. 4 years of not seeing you. You built something incredible and I was too stubborn to recognize it. I'm proud of you. Not because the journal said so. Because you saw something I couldn't, had the courage to pursue it and the skill to succeed. Something loosened in my chest. Thank you, Dad. Can we have dinner? Just us. I'd like to hear about your work. Really hear it. I'd like that. After we hung up, I sat in my office overlooking Lake Michigan. My phone buzzed. Daniel, just closed a deal using strategies you taught me. It worked. Thanks, sis. Mom, made your favorite pie. Saved you a slice. We love you. Small steps. But steps. The business world had always respected what I built. But family recognition, real recognition from understanding, not headlines, still mattered. Maybe not as much as I once thought. But enough. I had companies to acquire, value to create, and an industry to reshape. And now, finally, I had a family starting to understand what that meant. Not because headlines told them to, but because they'd finally learned to listen. The dinner with Dad happened 2 weeks later at a quiet Italian restaurant downtown. He arrived early, nervous energy evident in how he kept adjusting his tie. Thanks for meeting me, he said as I sat down. Of course. We ordered and then he pulled out a notebook. I've been reading everything I can find about Vertex. The Forbes articles, your interviews, the case study Harvard Business School published. I have questions. Real ones. For the next 2 hours we talked. Really talked. He asked about due diligence processes, how we identified acquisition targets, what made a company attractive for our portfolio. He asked about the Anderson integration specifically, Why we chose Patricia, what the timeline looked like, how we planned to modernize without disrupting production. The new CNC machines arrived yesterday, he said. Patricia walked the floor with us, asking what we needed. He actually listened. It's been different. Good different. Really good different. He paused. I never understood what you did because I never tried. I'm sorry for that. I appreciate you trying now. Better late than never? He smiled weakly. Yeah. Better late than never. When we left the restaurant, he hugged me. A real hug, not the awkward pat on the back from family gatherings. I'm proud of you, Morgan. Your mother and I both are. We're trying to do better. I know, Dad. The following Sunday, I drove to my parents' house for dinner. Just the four of us. Mom, Dad, Daniel, and me. No extended family, no audience, just us trying to figure out how to be a family again. Mom had made pot roast, my childhood favorite. Daniel brought wine. We sat around the same table where I'd spent years feeling invisible. Tell us about the Bloomberg interview, Mom said. We watched it. You were amazing. Thanks. It went well. They want me back for their year-end special on industry disruptors. Will you be on the cover? Daniel asked. Probably a feature, not the cover. But it's good exposure for the firm. We talked about work. Mine, Daniel's, Dad's experience with the new equipment at Anderson. Mom asked intelligent questions about our investment thesis. Daniel shared a case where he'd applied some strategies I'd explained to him. It wasn't perfect. There were awkward pauses, moments where old patterns almost reasserted themselves. But it was real. It was effort. It was family finally seeing me. As I was leaving, Mom walked me to my car. I know we can't undo 7 years of dismissing you. But we're trying. Is that enough? I looked at her. My mother, flawed and human, finally willing to see me clearly. It's a start, I said. Keep trying. She nodded, tears in her eyes. We will. I promise. Driving home, I thought about success. The Wall Street Journal headlines, the $890 million portfolio, the respective industry peers. That had always been real. I'd built something extraordinary. But having my family finally understand it, finally respect it, finally see me, that felt like a different kind of success. Smaller perhaps. More personal. Both mattered. Both were real. And for the first time in 7 years, I had both. My phone rang. Stephen, my CFO. Morgan, the Michigan deal just got approved. We're clear to close. Excellent. Schedule the announcement for next Tuesday. Will you tell your family first this time? I smiled. Yeah. I think I will. Because they were finally ready to listen. And I was finally ready to let them in. Not because they'd earned it with headlines and apologies, but because family, Real family, was built on effort, understanding, and the willingness to grow. We were growing. Slowly. Imperfectly. But genuinely. And that was worth more than any acquisition.